This was the opening move, best by test by the world number 1, Magnus Primeson. He's playing Entitled Tuesday. It's the 8th of July, early tournament. It's online chess for the world's most elite guild mariners, and his opponent, Nihal Sarin, plays the audacious Nimzovich defense. Now, it's not particularly good at the highest level because you give white the entire center, then you have to try and fight against it, which Nihal does. And okay, they're playing blitz chess, so you can dabble with things, but is Nihal gonna get a Magnus Spankerson in this game? Let's find out. Clock time's on the left here, 3 minutes each, plus 1 second to move. Pawns pressured, so Magnus goes ahead and sets up a delightful connect 4, only goes and wins himself a behind the scenes all access pass to Kramnik HQ. Get inside the magic, see the home of the Kramnik scrolls, find out where the inspiration came from for the procedure, and really get inside those statistics. What a brilliant trip, what a day out. Take a picnic. E6 is played, and now Magnus challenges that strong bishop. We see an exchange, queen recaptures, and this knight sits in front of the bishop. Very clumsy, but Magnus so impressed he copies, and now the knight hits this square here. It reveals the point. If you try and chase it here, a real patzer move where you've just weakened a ton of squares and the knight can always rotate like this in future. That sort of thing. So don't chase it. Leave it. Magnus challenges like this. You could take, allow then pawn recaptures, bit of pressure here, but h6. Just a different game. Instead we see pawn g6. Magnus can now take, but he doesn't. Decides he wants to instead develop his second pony, making some stunning horsey noises, and after bishop e7, don't worry, not a mouse slip. Nihal here deliberately didn't fianchetto. You'd be staring at this wall of pawns. Okay, maybe you go f6 one day, but it's actually less active there than it is here. Who knows if you can achieve c5 one day. Magnus now rotates with that one, and h5 starts to force the issue because h4 is on the way. Then you'd have to move. So Magnus does it already. How to recapture here? Well, Nihal goes with the natural captures towards the center. But as you can see, stock Dolphin doesn't love it there. Normally it's what you want to do. But okay, we'll stick with the game. h4 clamps on the weakened dark squares here. And after rook g8, going for that pawn, we see bishop g5, intercepting. This one now, perennial weakness as well, has to be babysat. Queen d7 prepares the 000, g3. It's what we now see. But before Nihal can settle too hard, Magnus goes for the attack. Always play king b8, always push your pawns and attack the enemy king, and always watch epicchess before bed. Excellent sleeping pill, many have reported to me. And now f6 is threatened. What does Magnus do? Love this move. It's king f1. Very cool and calm. How can I love such an average looking move? We'll just watch what Magnus has planned. f6 is now played. Very stinky. Not in a good, blue, crumbly cheese way, but in really, wow, the bins need to be taken out way, or trash, for my friends across the water. Takes is played. Now bishop recaptures, and we get Chewbacca's favourite move, the Wookiee one. Putting pressure on here. The force is strong with this one. And after takes, there are new problems now that black has to deal with. Namely, pawn recaptures is played, so there's a lot of pressure on this pawn. Now, how would you play here? You've got your time ticking. What's the best continuation? If you would have defended like this, well, you really ought to hang your head in shame. Go and do some self-affirmation in the mirror. I will not play passively. I will not play passively, especially in blitz. You have to really take the bull by the horns. Try and generate counterplay. Nihal does it here. And if Magnus were to take immediately, we've gone to the back cave analysis mode. This didn't happen. But here's a sample of how you just get fried. Not even knight takes, you know, the rook is on it, but queen g4. And you couldn't have taken with the knight a moment ago. There was a pin down here with the rook to the king. And look, you're attacking two things. Your whole position's collapsing. So Magnus didn't touch. He tucks this king into bed. Lovely jubbly. We get the exchange. Still, what would you do about this pawn now? Well, if you'd play this one, again, we've just given up hope at this stage. You probably ought to write us all an apology down in the comments here. Queen e8 is playable, to be fair, in this position, defending, reactivating in one way or another, but Nihal cracks on with pawn e5. It's excellent blitz chess, because yes, it's a pawn sacrifice, and it's gladly gobbled up by Magnus. He loves a plate of pawns and
mushrooms.
But now you take care and you do at least get counterplay. You were getting a bit squashed like a bug. This gets it weird. And Magnus apparently should play b5 immediately. Subtle stuff. Instead he takes the pawn. Very understandable. Queen a1. Is Nihal looking to blunder his queen on one of these squares? Let's say like this. Well, Magnus doesn't want to find out. He kicks that one out of dodge. We see a check played, and what a feeling it is. Getting the world #1 in check. Is there anything better? It's like having your tummy tickled with a chess piece. And now we see the block with the rook here. The queen kicked back. It's no time to Botez Gambit. And best move is this rook lift. Now, not only do you defend the pawn, but there's these great lines where the king now hides out on the light squares with the rook in front, so you're not exposed to checks here. And now you're good to go activating this rook, e5, e6, e7, and so on. But in the game, Magnus plays pawn g6 to defend the pawn that was attacked, but now the queen can drop back, double hit it. You could go rook h6 to defend, but it's passive, so instead Magnus doubles up these rooks here and the game is turning because Nihal's pressuring this pawn, potentially winning it, then the material's level, but his king's safer. Magnus's is open. He now plays the excellent move Queen f6, a collinear move, you could say, because he doesn't actually continue with the full flurry of the move and actually take the pawn. That would be bad, because then there's queen takes, rook takes, and this actually leads to a checkmate. So we run back here. If rook takes, there's also problems. In fact, I want to show that because it's an even cooler line. It's not about the checks this time. That's covered twice, but b5 is very strong, deflecting the queen and then crashing through, leading to a mate, you know, something like that. So this was played, the collinear queen f6. What a word. It's like Mufasa, makes you shudder. And now there's a threat to come down here if any of the pieces ever move. So Magnus isn't going to, right? b5, b6, and what is this? Very cagey position. He should just wait with the king. But he plays rook e7. A horrendous blunder, as we can see. Now, possibly he was doing it because due to the Kramnik HQ visit, he didn't want to end up on the Kramnik scrolls, throw him off the hunt, make a crazy move, allow Nihal to check. No suspicion there, but it's just losing the game. Because if you step to the corner here, then rook h8 check is leading to a mate like this. And now you can take the rook because this one no longer defends. That's game over. I think I forgot to say earlier, by the way, but the winner of this game wins the entire tournament. And if we come back here, if you step up the board, as we saw in the game, this time it's not about rook h8 check because you can hide on g4. That move's never available when the king's in the corner. That's the big difference. But here, you can play instead rook f3. And it's a killer because you hit the queen, but you also set up the threat of takes with mate. And how do you actually get the queen round to defend that square? You know, you can't. Not from d3. So in the game, Magnus desperately checks. These ones leave the board. King b7. And now the only thing to do to stave off the mate is give up the lady. She's crying. Now we see king h4 and it's desperation because even that g-pawn's dropping. If you try advance, well, you can check and win it. Be careful, you might even end up losing a rook if you're not careful. So anyway, the pawn's given up here. We see rook e5 takes, g4 from Magnus, pawn c6. Bit of a weird looking move, exposes the king, but after it steps back, you're still in a world of pain. The simplest threat is queen f6 check, winning a piece. You can't check from the back rank, covered. No time to take for the reasons mentioned. So g5 covers the square, but now takes. We see king g4, a5 from Nihal, and it ends the game on the spot. Red carpet's rolled out. What to say? G-pawn's blockaded, queen always beats rook, the king's exposed, and the pawn is just running relentlessly. Nihal beats Magnus, final round, and he wins the early title Tuesday. Wouldn't have predicted that one. Great play by him. Hope you enjoyed, and have a look at the video on screen if you want to see an incredible game between Magnus and Nepo played a year or so ago. Unreal. Hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Cheers.